Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to Developer Passport. My name is Laszlo Bola, Senior Developer Advocate at ServiceNow, and I'm your host today. We are on day 4 of Developer Passport week. If you've been following along since Monday, thank you. If you're just joining us now, we've already covered playbooks, flows, and 2 sessions on experiences earlier this week. All of those are available on the Developer Program YouTube channel, this channel, and on the Community Hub under devlink.sn/Australia. So make sure you go back and check out anything you've missed. But I'm not alone today. Behind the scenes, we have the wonderful Laura McManaman producing this show, screening your questions and making sure we have the right screens displayed. And here on camera with me is a very special guest. Robert, would you care for an intro for anyone who doesn't know you for some reason?
I'm not that big a deal, man. My name is Robert Fedoruk. I'm a 15-year ServiceNow veteran. Been at ServiceNow for 2 years. Helped develop ReleaseOps, and now I am the product manager for ReleaseOps.
Amazing, thank you. And for anyone who hasn't heard of Developer Passport yet, it's a full week of live streams dedicated to the Australia release. One product area per session, ReleaseOps this time, hosted by one of us developer advocates, joined by the product manager from the respective team. You get a solid overview of what's new with demos and live Q&A, so make sure you use that chance to ask any questions from Robert. And once again, everything is available at devlink.sn/Australia. That's your one-stop hub for all the streams, replays, blogs, and the full schedule. And if there wasn't enough, there's a community badge up for grabs. All you got to do is watch at least one stream, answer 2 quick questions on the blog, and you earn a limited edition Developer Passport badge. You have until March 27th, so don't sleep on it much. All right, quick plug. Knowledge 26 is coming up. Our team works on CreatorCon, the track at Knowledge built for all of you developers, builders, and architects. Fun activities, hackathon, hands-on labs, keynotes. If you build in ServiceNow and you haven't registered yet, now's the time. And one more before we get to the good stuff. G2 is collecting reviews on ServiceNow's app development capabilities. If you have a couple of minutes and an opinion about our developer tools, scan the QR code on the screen or follow the link. There's a $25 Amazon gift card in it for you. So thanks in advance for that. All right, before we jump in, we got to do this. Yeah, you can already see it on the screen, safe harbor notice. We're talking about the Australia release today, although what we are showing is generally available. We may be discussing things that are more forward-looking, so please don't make any purchasing decisions based on what you see or hear today. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So, ReleaseOps. It first landed in Zurich, and some of you might have seen the Creator Toolbox episode we did with Robert on it last year. But for anyone in the audience who hasn't had a chance to look at it yet, Robert, can you give us the quick version? What is ReleaseOps and what problem does it solve?
Yeah, do you have the slide? Okay, here we go. So if you've been developing on ServiceNow for any amount of time, you must be familiar with update sets and app repo. And that's how ServiceNow has been doing deployment of payloads from dev to test to prod all across our pipelines since the dawn of time. In the meantime, the development world has gone through a lot of maturation. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but most of us do this via update sets. And so what ReleaseOps does is it enables you to push more payloads more often with a higher degree of confidence and a fraction of the human labor. If you've ever had to do a big deployment on ServiceNow that was expressed in update sets, you know the hell I'm talking about. Like, it's very, very, very manual intensive. You're manually exporting update sets, manually moving update sets, importing the update sets, previewing, dealing with preview reconciliations. If you remember to run your ATF tests, you're also dealing with test failures. And so we've lived in this world of disconnected quality control mechanisms and transport mechanisms. And so if you just take a second and imagine a train on a train yard. This is the basic model of ReleaseOps. We have this idea of a release, and all a release cares about is how am I getting to prod, and or when am I getting to prod. Nothing else it cares about. It only cares about those things. So if it's a scheduled train, it says, does it pass the quality control checks? And what time is it? Can I go? And we have a concept called an on-demand, which would be what have the quality controls passed, therefore let me go to prod. Now, let's talk about the train cars for a second, because we've all been on big ServiceNow teams that are separately developing stuff. Everybody wants their payload to go. So what do? You got 100 update sets across 10 different teams. Are you batching all of them? Because in that sense, you're strapping yourself to somebody's wreckage. You never want one team to stop the whole train from going. And so therefore we talk about all of the pieces of the puzzle that must go together form one deployment request. And so you could have ITSM stuff, HR stuff, custom app A, custom app B, et cetera, et cetera. If they have to go together, they should be in one train car. And the train cars are what automate the movement of your update sets or app repo or plugins. We'll talk about that across your instances. So you can see this train car will travel from dev to test, et cetera. It won't go to prod. That's what the release does. And then we have statuses of the deployment request. So if it's not ready to be assessed, it's in draft. Once it's being assessed, it should be moving to one of your next instances automatically again. And you, it will go through assessment and reconciliation. So we've all seen preview problems before. We've all seen test problems before. We've all seen instant scan problems before. And so that can drop it into reconciling and then back to assessment, depending on how we disposition those errors that come up. And then finally, we want our train cars to be ready so that when the release says, hey, I got to go, it only takes the ready train cars. The other ones, no moral judgment. It didn't get in for this release. No problem. We'll just get you on another release. The key thing is you haven't held up everybody else. And this is how you automate both the movement of everything and the quality control mechanism. So more stuff, more often, higher quality control, and a fraction of the human later, because we're not putting our icky human fingers on update sets.
Amazing. Thanks for that, Robert. So that's the foundation still from Zurich, right? So now get your screen share ready. Let's see what Australia brings to the table. So show us what's new.
Sure. I should be showing my release now, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the main pieces of feedback we got in our initial wave of interest was that people are doing this in a way just highly manual. They are manually moving the update sets, and they are trying to coordinate the efforts of multiple teams to get multiple things live and quality controlled. So this isn't a new process. It's just tooling for the process. But our major feedback was that we didn't factor for all the stuff that is non-automatable. Okay. So think about like has the training team trained all the users? Has the documentation been uploaded to the SharePoint site? Have we passed some kind of our company only manual approval gate? And so people have been building this kind of stuff on Excel, and a few of our customers have called this runbooks. So we call it runbooks. It's just like, how do we do a release? And they've got this broken up in Excel, the arch nemesis of ServiceNow. And we thought, okay, we've got to get this in order to fit our ReleaseOps solution over top of a pre-existing process. Okay. We also, I'll be super upfront about this. ReleaseOps is not finished, obviously, right? Like there's stuff we still want to get in. There's still 2 huge automation opportunities in terms of automating any fixed scripts and automating every data loads. Those are on our horizon. They're very high priority for me. Again, remember Laszlo's safe harbor slide, but that's coming. And in the meantime, we hope Runbooks at least gets the visibility and tracking to tasks where you're actually tasking somebody, hey, go run this fixed script or go do this data load. Okay, so step 1, visibility. Step 2, automation. Okay, so before I go into like what a release runbook looks like, I want to go to our playbooks. For those of you who have investigated ReleaseOps, you know that the expression of our process to assess inside of a DR, remember a little train car, right, is done via a playbook called a deployment request assessment. Okay, and this is where you as the customer would express your process. I'll go through like the out of the box one that goes across 3 instances, and you can see it, you know, once the deployment request is marked as ready to assess, it makes it state assessing, then it runs instant scan. At this point, we're still on dev. It checks the instant scan results. It deals with failures, usually by creating a deployment request task. Okay. And then it, sorry, not a powerful Mac user yet. Then it's going to move the stuff to test. So it's going to, again, if in case the DR was in assessing, it's going to set it back. If the case of DR was in reconciliation, it's going to set it back to assessing. We're going to ignore these pause points for now, but it's going to do integrate the deployment. So that's going to move all your update sets to the test instance. Then it's going to run ATF. It's going to find out what happened, whether or not it needs to have reconciliation tasks. And then it's going to move it to ready for deployment. Okay. So that's an example of an assessing workflow that our train cars go to make sure that we have all our quality control in check. So what we've heard from customers is like, but after I move all my update sets, I want to run fix scripts, and then I want to do data loads. And then after everything is said and done, maybe I want to get the UAT team to give some kind of final sign off. Or maybe I want to ensure that the instructions are on SharePoint or any number of things. And so we had to facilitate this because we don't know if it's the same tasks every time. If it was always the same tasks every single time, or if we could predict programmatically which would need run scripts and which would need data loads, we would just make a bigger, better playbook. But since we can't determine programmatically if those when those things should appear, what we do is we've built these pause points. Okay. And these pause points will act as a stopper for any tasks that have been created on the deployment request attached to this activity. And we'll show how they get attached to that activity. So you can have one or many tasks that are required before this deployment request allows to go to moving the update sets. And then after I move the update sets, you might have another set of tasks that may or may not exist that will pause until they are all done. Likewise, at the end of this playbook, before we say this whole thing is ready to deploy, again, we might have some kind of, final manual approval or a final meeting of the minds or some third-party audit or something. We don't care, right? Just that it must pause until it is done. Okay, so this is just an example of how we built it out in a sample playbook. In your organizations, as you articulate your process in this playbook, you would define where you need those pause considerations for the things you already do manually today. So let's see how this is actually enacted in the release. So I have this release. Remember, this is the train that takes everything to prod when everything is ready. Okay. And on a certain date, if it's scheduled. And we have all these deployment requests, and we see that this deployment request is already ready for deployment. And so let's take a look at how it was structured. Okay. For those of you who investigated ReleaseOps, you know that there's this concept of a deployment request task. So these have generally been, hey, there's been a preview problem, task somebody with resolving it. Hey, there's been a test problem or an instant scan problem, task somebody with addressing it. We worked the Runbooks tasks in the same way. So you'll see that this deployment request had 3 deployment request tasks. Okay, and they're all closed. So one was run fix scripts for ABC development. Let's see when they were said to have to go. So this one says that it was in the playbook stage of a playbook pipeline stage of assessment, the playbook stage of move to test, and for the runbook activity of after test deployment. This one was the same. It was in the ready for deploy, but before ready for deployment. This was in move to test, but before test development. Let's just map that really quickly back here. So there's that activity before test deployment, before tested deployment. Okay. So this one already went through all of its pipelines tasks on top of all the other manual automation, all the other automation that's going on, and it's already reached a point where it's ready for deployment. So let's go back to our deployment requests again. Here we have a deployment request that's in assessing, reconciliation. So on the release, I'm just going to take a look at all the deployment requests across the release. And so this is for like a release manager to figure out like what's holding up what. Okay, so and they could find out really easily which depend on humans and which are machine based, because this is like a preview issue. This is a runbook one, etc. The runbook ones will tell you like what part of the stage they adhere to. So in this case, notify all UAT stakeholders that ABC is ready to test tomorrow. Okay, that's in the assessment pipeline stage. It's in the move to test playbook stage, and it's waiting on the activity before test deployment. We also have an order field. This doesn't do anything mechanical, but it can give ReleaseOps, like as you manually define these tasks, you can give ReleaseOps managers kind of an idea of when they should be going together. Whoops. Mac likes to think if I pull too hard to the side, it wants another window. My apologies for that. Okay, so let's define one and get things going. So let's take this deployment request 1005. It's still in the assessing phase. And I am going to create another deployment request task, but I want it at the end of the playbook. Like before we mark this thing ready, I will have a final task. Okay, so I'm going to go to new deployment request task. This is going to be of type runbook. It wants to know our pipeline stage. So these little pauses can happen on the release playbook or the assessment playbook. In this case, we're picking the assessment playbook. Which deployment playbook stage? Okay, so this is like move to test or ready for deploy. Those map to the big blocks in our playbooks. So we want the ready for deploy stage. Okay, and then what runbook activity? The ready for deploy stage only has one activity before ready for deployment. So let's pick that. And let's say, does Bob feel like doing this or not? Okay, so now this deployment request is up to 5 runbook tasks. We'll also see that one of them, the run fix scripts for app XYZ, or the run data load for app XYZ, that's already come and gone. They're done. And we're currently in the work in progress of run fix scripts for app XYZ. So they're marked as open as soon as you create them, but we don't count them as actually working until they're work in progress. Okay, so I'm just going to pop this one open, and I'm going to resolve it. And now you can see everything else is in work in progress because it's gone and done the testing, and that work is complete. So it's kind of in our image here, it's jumped from here to here.
Yeah.
Or rather, sorry, it jumped from here back to here. Okay, so now we have these that are work in progress, and as soon as they're complete, it would go to the playbook again, see what's next. Obviously, the last thing it does is mark that ready for deployment. And we've seen from this DR example, as soon as those close completes happened, the deployment request is now ready for deployment. So this is like a huge adoption blocker for us. It gives you the ability to bring ServiceNow visibility to all the stuff you're tracking in Excel, email, and your memory into your ReleaseOps flow. And in my opinion, it brings together the best of both worlds: manual when you can't automate, and automated when you can automate.
Oh, that's amazing. Thanks for that, Robert. I'll insert a couple of questions if you don't mind. We had a question, I think it's from Akash, that they have multiple change requests containing multiple update sets with different manual steps to be performed. Can this resolve their problem?
So multiple change requests. Okay, so I think we'd have to reconcile, like, you're probably doing it in change for no other reason that you didn't have ReleaseOps, right?
Yeah.
So we'd have to take a look at this example in deeper detail. We are still kind of working out if you have manual steps between update sets, that's still going to be a little complicated. But if you can deal with your update sets in a chunk, then deal with any data loads and fixed scripts pre or post all the update sets in a DR, you'll be doing just fine.
Great.
Just again, safe harbor notice, but we do know that fixed scripts and data loads tend to be like the big consumers of manual taskiness. And those are going to be part of the like deployment flow. So it kind of won't tell the difference. It'll be like, do this update set, do this fixed script, do this update set, do this data load within a DR. That's coming in the future.
Got it. Robert, by the way, your camera feed is once again frozen. If you can
just
unfroze that, I'll read out another question. I think Lauren already highlighted that. That's the one I wanted to look at as well. Oh, you're back. Great. How is release notes specifically presented to the user? I think there's a question about release notes. Any relationship to that?
I am not the PM of release notes, and I can't talk about it too deeply on this call, unfortunately. I will do my best to get you better answers in the near future.
Okay, we'll circle back to that. I think I had something else marked, but I lost it. I see something now. Is there any limitations for on-premise instances? I guess it makes sense considering the entire pipeline that runs ReleaseOps.
Okay. ServiceNow sits on ServiceNow ReleaseOps sits on a technology called MIM, or MIF, depending on who you ask. And that is an incredible technology for inter-instance communication and shared data, and also integrating without authorization and that kind of thing. It's got some key drawbacks, though. For right now, it is not compatible with PDIs, GCC instances, and on-prem. Not a reality that I enjoy, and I am working very hard to get to the bottom of those deficiencies. I do know there is plans to make it available on make MIF work on self-hosted, but again, that safe harbor slide, I don't know when that might be. I can't even guess. But like, I hear you. It resonates with me. It's a dependent technology that I'm beholden.
All right, oh, that's fair. That's fair. Running through, we got a few more questions. That's great. Keep on coming, guys. Can development teams or partners implement a ReleaseOps pipeline in parallel to teams who have their jobs in the same instance, but they are not using ReleaseOps? So can you as a developer team, I guess that's a question, use ReleaseOps for your stuff if other dev teams are not using it?
I think is the question, can I as partner XYZ set up release pipelines so that the stuff drops onto a customer instance, kind of like merging two companies' pipelines? Is that kind of like the question?
I guess we're both guessing.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's the question. And the answer is no, for a couple reasons. Number one, it's a safety concern. Like, we can get in some really muddy territory when it's like I'm developing something that automatically goes to another customer's instance. And so even if we got past those, there is the technology barrier of MIF. Okay. And I'll say it again, the magic of MIF is that for one customer, it allows their instances to communicate and share data with a lot less drama and faster. Okay. So when you're setting up MIF, it only sees what the customer owns. So you can't even by accident say, okay, like, oh, I worked at this other organization, I still know the credentials, and so I'll just send all of our stuff to that company too. MIF magically takes care of that. It does have consequences, though, in terms of like, hey, can a partner set up a pipeline that ends at another customer's instance? I do get the value prop, though. I understand the value prop, and I promise I'll put it in future consideration, but no promises.
Fair, that's fair. Does ReleaseOps help in any way to roll back changes that happen post-deployment?
Rollbacks and backouts. No, ReleaseOps itself does nothing about that. You can consider ReleaseOps as being more, does the same thing update sets and app repo and plugins and stuff do. It's just automated. So we're not adding any capability to rollbacks or backout yet.
Fair enough. Maybe the last one before we look at the summary. Do runbooks have the flexibility to be used to create post-production deployment tasks? I guess this ties into the previous question, right? Production checkout tasks.
Absolutely. You want to let me share my screen again?
Up to you. Yeah. Okay. Lauren, bring it back.
Am I sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. So again, it's just a playbook, right? And I decided to put a before deployment thing right here, right? But I can just as easily put another one here. Or like when I pull up the release playbook itself. So this is the playbook for the assessment inside the train cars. This is the one where the actual train leaves the station and woo, here we go. And now we're back in prod. So yes, I can put those pause points and extra tasks here as well if I wanted to. It's all just dependent on where you put that pause point, this new activity that we have in playbooks.
That's fair. Good. Let's remove this. So guys, the price we pay every time when Robert shares his screen is his video is frozen. But now he's back. And Robert, there was a point from Daniel about future support for app repo source control, dev sandboxes. But I think we wanted to plug something else about plugin installations and all that as well.
So I'll try to go fast because we are okay. There's a little bit of rethinking about update sets, right? Update sets used to be like your VCR. For those of you who remember what VCRs are, right? You hit the record button
yourself, man.
Everything, and then you have this tape that's got everything that you did on it. Okay, and that's what update sets were, and it was stored in XML. It was the XML VCR of ServiceNow, and some of you might have to ask your dads what the VCR is, but but update sets are being rethought as kind of a harness for ReleaseOps to pick up and automate. We have proved this with app repo. So app repo isn't an update set. So I can just have an update set that's got a single line instruction to say, I intend to deploy this version of this app from the repo. We also can do the same thing with plugins now. So it's like, as an update set, put an instruction for a plugin in it. And then it just goes, deploys that plugin and its thing. And we have other things that we're thinking about putting in that paradigm, especially when I talked about like fixed scripts and data loads might be using those harnesses so that they can be ordered in with the other update set. Do update set A, run a fixed script. Do update set B, run a data load. Run another fixed script. Do another update set. Pull something from app repo and then do a plugin.
Great. Oh, that's good. All right. Let's do a quick recap of the demo we've just seen. If you take one thing away from today, that's obviously Runbook tasks. So up until now, the manual parts of your release process still lived in spreadsheets. I know I've worked with many of those or anywhere outside the system. Runbook tasks bring all of that into your ReleaseOps playbook, so they're tracked. You define tasks per stage. You post the progression until they are done, as Robert explained. Pretty simple and powerful, I would say. Robert, if anybody wants to learn more about ReleaseOps, where should they go to dig deeper?
Yeah, they have the doc site. Also, did you get those 2 links I sent you earlier, Laszlo?
We'll put them in the chat. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have the 2 links. There's a couple videos that our outbound PM did. What is ReleaseOps? A full end-to-end demo. You can pick up those. Also, like, my door is open for comments and critiques and questions. Hit me over LinkedIn. Get into my DMs if you have questions. I'm more than happy. Like, my door is always open to you. You're my people.
That's right. Robert is a very community-oriented PM, so I can vouch for him, definitely. Okay, let's carry on with some of the final slides. All the ReleaseOps, unfortunately, and correct me if I'm wrong, is not available in PDIs as of yet. Robert explained the infrastructure as well. I would still encourage everyone to go grab an Australia PDI at developer.servicenow.com. This is one of the best ways for you guys to get hands-on with many of the latest features. Before we wrap up, tomorrow, Friday, March 20th at 8:30 a.m. Pacific, my colleague Travis Toulson is closing out Developer Passport Week with one of the most anticipated sessions, ServiceNow Studio and Build Agent. If that's on your radar, don't miss it. Now, for us, that's it for today. But before I let you go, Robert, any final words for the audience, piece of advice?
No, like, take me up on that offer. My door is always open. I love you guys, and I want you guys to do more with more quality, more often, and a fraction of your labor. Don't put your icky fingers in the update sets. Just like do something more important.
Thank you, Robert. This was great. And a big thanks to Lauren behind the scenes for keeping everything running smoothly. And to everyone watching, devlink.sn/Australia for everything Developer Passport. Catch up on anything you've missed, claim your badge before March 27th, and join us tomorrow for the finale with Travis. Have a great one, everybody.